What is going on, guys? This is All Gaming with my review of Log Horizon episode 14, and holy crap, what this episode just full of information. But I actually like that because I like this anime and I do like learning about it, so I am glad that they aren't rushing through it. So it starts off with Shiro and Akatsuki. They are now with Regan, who are like in some library because we just see all these books everywhere. It's like a complete mess where they are. And he was looking for this potion, but Shiro had one that he pulled out from his magic bag, which he poured into a cup for Regan. And Regan, right away, he could tell where he got that magic bag from because he knew what it was made of. And Shiro even thought to himself about that level 45 quest. So clearly, this guy, knows a lot. And so we go to our dungeon gang where they were sitting around a campfire, and they were actually planning on going to the dungeon, but not Nasugo, he had appeared, and he had stopped them because I do think that they were planning on going to the dungeon more than once because we have Sabara who had pointed that out. But Natsuko was saying how important it is that they follow the rules and get some rest because if they don't follow the rules, they'll be sent back. And we just see throughout the episode, Toha, he just had so much on his mind. But back to Akatsuki and Shiro, when they were talking to Regan, Shiro recognized right away who he really was. He is the sage of Mirror Lake, who I'm guessing is just powerful NPC. But this guy, is the newest sage, so that title is passed down, and so he was saying that his specialty is what is known as world class magic, and he just goes into just like in depth of all these like different like classes of magic. We have the action class, combat class, operation class, tactical class, strategy class, natural defense class, continent class, and of course the final one, which is world class magic. Now, all the different magics I can see, different characters using. Now, I see Shiro actually using the most of them. Now, I'm not sure if he's capable of doing it because, like, even though he is a great warrior and a brilliant guy, these magic classes could be too much for his character. But if he can use them, it's pretty obvious, which one he'll use right away, like the tactical and strategy class. But these magic classes all have like these special things about them. Like the action class is capable of replicating a single action. The combat class is capable of altering the course of a single battle. We have the operation class, which can assign two or three battles at a time. We have the tactical class, which is capable of conquering an enemy castle within a single hit. Strategy would be a single spell that can decide the outcome of a war. National defense class, which will let you conquer a nation. Continent, you can conquer a continent. And of course, world class magic, which is capable of controlling the laws, the fate, or the very existence of the entire world. So for this last class, the world class, there's only been one spell so far that we know about, which is the world fraction spell, and it has only been used twice in the history of this entire game. That spell has only been used twice. So then he like takes us to the beginning of this world or the game's history, where it was these four races: the dwarves, the elves. I forgot the other two, but the main race here, it was the elves. And this race, it was so powerful in magic that they were actually the vanguard of magic. But the only downside is that they could not reproduce, as their chances, it was just so slim. So the other races, they actually started to hate them, and they actually, waged war on them, which completely wiped out the elves and their kingdom. But there were these six princesses, the six bent princesses, which like rose to great power, and they were called the Luquinji. Not sure if I'm saying that right, but these six princesses, even though that they weren't working together, they all had wanted revenge at the exact same time. So they threw the world into chaos, and some did that by like controlling the other owls that were still alive, and some which has used their great powers to seduce and influence others. So even though these 10 princesses were all kind of like working together in some way by taking on the world, it still wasn't enough as they all I think all were about to be defeated. But right before they were all wiped out again, they had used the world fraction spell, which had used the souls of the dead, which transformed them into demi-humans. So that right there explains how goblins came to be, because before they weren't around, because of the owls using that spell, it brought them into creation. And so because they could reproduce rapidly, and after a certain amount of time they actually will be reborn, they actually grew in number, and they were actually on the verge of wiping out the humans, or the other races here. But right before that, the people, they actually used the world fraction spell, and that right there is what first brought in adventurers into the world. And so because of that, and he also used the owl technology to create these different races, like the cat people, the wolf fangs, the fox tails, the rogue ones. They were all created from the owl's technology. So even though they were all wiped out, their technology was still around, which people could use. And then we have the powerful race of warriors, which were called the precursors, and Shura was saying that their strength actually rivaled that of real people. So that right there was very interesting. And so because time here is so fast, people knew about Shiro and all things that he done since 98 years ago. And 2 hours, 2 hours in the game actually equals 1 day in the real world. So you can imagine, how much time has passed. So Shiro started playing this game 8 years ago, but this game had been out, or at least in beta form, since 20 years ago. So even though he clearly couldn't play it back then, he at least did his research, and he actually knew about the game. So that right there was actually pretty awesome. So he also brought up this spirit theory that he'd been working on, which consisted of the psyche and the anima. Not sure if that's right, but the psyche is the energy that animates the mind, and it was also called impure magic points. And the anima is the psyche that animates the body, which is the HP or hit points. And so he was saying that when people's bodies are destroyed, their minds are actually teleported to the cathedral where they are revived. But if somebody, it's somebody like the people of the land, if they lost all their hit points, then they are dead for good. But there's actually a window of a chance, like when a real player could be revived, then there's somebody, other people of the land can also be revived as well. But because your body or your mind, it was destroyed when you are revived, you actually lose some experience. But Shiro, he had put together that because now the psyche and the anima are now one and the same. Because before the psyche, it was the real player that was not in the world, but that was behind the character in the real world, and the anima was the character that you played as in the game. And so because now that they are tied together, rather than losing just experience, just experience, you also lose your memories, because the psyche, it contains your consciousness, your personality, and things like that. But the body as well, it also has memories. So not only do these real players has that, but the demi-humans, the goblins, they also do. And so now, like, even though people have died, this whole epidemic, or a possible epidemic of people losing their memories, hasn't blown up just yet, but it's definitely possible. So I'm thinking that, like, maybe if you keep dying over and over again, you will lose more memories. So maybe that's why it's not that big of a deal right now. because it's possible. Well, it's definitely obvious that the people can be losing their memories, but it's not enough where it's like a huge deal. But if you die repeatedly, that's when you see a serious effect. But that right there, it should go to show you how dark this series can be, because I can definitely see some non important characters losing all their memories and just becoming a regular NPC, because they wouldn't have any memories of the real world. So it would make a lot of sense. But even after learning all of this, Shiro does not want to tell anybody else, which to me is surprising, because I'm pretty sure if he told the other members of the round table, it wouldn't be that big of a deal, especially Krusty and Hironetta, if she was there. Well, yeah, she is there, especially those two, because they seem to be like the smartest ones around, and even Akatsuki didn't understand it. So it would make sense if he told the smarter ones, and maybe that way they can actually come out with like a plan to tell people. But when we go back to our dungeon game, they were all sleeping, or at least some of them were, because we have Minori. She was going over Shiro notes, and she has studied everything, but for some reason they still cannot beat this dungeon. And then when the morning came, we actually see her working on all these potions. And so that girl, what's her name? Suzuyu? Not sure if that's right, but she actually woke up and she came across Rondo House, who was training. Now, to me, I was surprised to see that, but I like that he was actually working on his skills rather than, like showing off as he usually do. He's actually trying to improve himself, which I liked a lot. But of course, after he was spotted, he tried to play that whole cool guy act. But afterwards, they were all eating, and they were planning on going to the dungeon. But Toya, he actually wanted to say something so badly, but he didn't. But Minori, and I'm so glad this happened. She finally stepped up, and I'm glad to see this, because like I said, Minori had to step up if they want to beat this dungeon. And I'm so glad that it's going to happen, next week. I am definitely looking forward to that. But I also want to know what's going on with this freaking character as well. So I do hope that we actually go back to him and not to focus on the dungeon, because clearly throughout the episode we just see him giving these sly looks. So I definitely don't trust him. Even though he was telling us all the information, I still don't trust him that much. But I do wonder, what is Shiro gonna do now that he knows all of this, about the world-class magic, about all these different magic and history and stuff. I can only imagine that he'll share some of it, but not all of it. But like I said, this episode, it taught us a lot, and I actually like that. I love learning about this series. But as always, guys, please don't forget to like the video and subscribe, because that really helps me out. But as always, you guys take it easy, and I'll see you all next time.